Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Oxnard Planning Commission for Thursday, February 2, 2023. This meeting will come to order at 6:01 p.m. The public may view the meeting from home on the city's website, Spectrum Channel 10, Frontier Channel 35, or on the city's YouTube website. To participate in the meeting, the public may provide comments to the Planning Commission via email at planning@oxnard.org no later than 3 p.m. on the day of the meeting, or through the city's website, or call the Planning Division's office at 805-385-7878. Additionally, those wishing to speak can dial the phone number listed at the bottom of the screen. Follow the instructions to access the meeting and press star 9 to raise your hand, indicating your intention to speak on the agenda item being discussed. All votes, if any, will be recorded by roll call. Madam Secretary, can we please have the roll call?
Chair Arrejo,
Here.
Commissioner Chavez,
Here, thank you.
Commissioner Conley,
Here, thank you.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez,
Here, thank you.
Commissioner Nash,
Here.
Commissioner Sealsdorf,
Here.
and we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We will now move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Sealsdorf, will you kindly lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you, Commissioner Sealsdorf. The next agenda item is C, public comments on items not on the agenda. At this time, a person may address the Planning Commission on matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission, including information, consent items, and any time, including information, consent items, and any time not appearing on the agenda. The Planning Commission cannot take action on any item presented during public comments that is not on the agenda, and such item may only be referred to the Commission Secretary. Persons wishing to speak on the public hearing item should do so at the time of the public hearing. I have in front of me 3 public speaker cards, and then we'll go on to others who haven't signed up, and then online. The first one is from Mr. Gabe Turan. Councilman Turan, please. You have 3 minutes.
Can we hold on for a second?
Yes, Madam
The
Secretary.
timer is not working.
Okay. We'll be at ease, stand at ease until we get the timer ready.
I can time myself if that helps too.
Thank you for that.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes, Councilman Turan.
Thank you, Chair Arwejo and commissioners. I just was in the neighborhood and didn't plan on speaking, but I just want to take the opportunity for items not on the agenda to thank all of you for your service to the community and the residents of Oxnard. You really dedicate yourselves to very, very important work. Just today, there was some really vibrant discussion on the number of particular Starbucks that we have in the city of Oxnard and the how that process works for a business to apply to be here and do business in the city of Oxnard while meeting our codes that they have to be able to sell their products. And a really great discussion, and I encourage folks to follow the Planning Commission and see what's coming before them. Go to your neighborhood council meetings, go to the community workshops that are put out there for particular business uses and land uses. But you all dive so deep into the types of uses that we have throughout the city. And I think along with our other commissioners on our other CAGs, all of you are unsung heroes for a lot of the work that gets vetted in this city that keeps things going day to day. But the volume of work that you all do, because I'm coming from a Parks and Rec commissioner, I just have to tip my hat to all of you. And I don't know if you hear it enough. If not, then I'm telling you now, thank you for your service to our city and the residents. And welcome to Commissioner Sealsdorf. I don't think we've been able to meet just yet. And I know Vice Chair Stewart is not here tonight, but I want to thank him for his work as well. So thank you all very much. Those are my comments, and I appreciate everything that you all do. I hope our residents do as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Turan. We appreciate your comments. The next speaker is Ms. Pat Brown.
I believe those are for items.
Oh.
Yes,
And
I'm speaking tonight on
Ms. Brown, I apologize. You're going to be soon on agenda
you want
F1.
me to wait until?
Yes, please. Thank you
Yes,
very
I
much.
agree.
Madam Secretary, are there any other public comments for items not on the agenda?
No.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to agenda item D, consent agenda. Unless there is an objection, we will take a vote on them separately, just due to the various people who happen to be at the meeting or not. The first is the minutes of the October 20, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. At this time, I'm going to ask this Madam Secretary or the technology to
Production, can we please put up the minutes for 10:20?
thank you, to place the corrections that I submitted just for our clarification. There are just a couple of title, and there was one vote that was not explicitly stated in regards to how it went. I submit those for corrections to the minutes for October 20. At this time, are there any further corrections to the minutes? Commissioner Dr. Lopez.
Just on the minutes of October 20th, I recused myself at the start of the meeting. So on page 4 of the minutes, for the vote for the second motion, so towards the bottom of page 4, we could just strike my name there. And then similarly on the page 6 at the very end for the vote on the fourth motion, just strike my name as well, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dr. Lopez. Are there any further corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, I will look for a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Chavez moves.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez, seconded by Commissioner Connolly. Madam Secretary, can we please have the roll call?
Commissioner Chavez?
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez?
Aye.
Commissioner Nash?
Aye.
Commissioner Seelsdorf?
Yes.
Chair Orejo?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We'll move on to the minutes of the January 5, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
Chavez moves.
Thank you. Commissioner Chavez moves. Is there a second? Seconded by Dr. Lopez to approve the minutes as amended, or as distributed. Madam Secretary, can we please have the roll call?
Commissioner Chavez?
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez?
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Nash?
Aye.
Commissioner Seelsdorf?
Aye.
And Chair Orejo.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Moving on to Section E, ex parte declarations for public hearing items. Please state any ex parte declarations, if any, when asked. I'll go down the row. Commissioner Connolly.
Done. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Commissioner Dr. Lopez.
None, thank you.
Commissioner Chavez.
None, thank you.
Commissioner Nash.
None, thank you.
And Commissioner Seelsdorf.
None, thank you.
And none from me. Now we will go on to Section F, public hearing. Agenda item F1, 2420 Oxnard Boulevard U-Haul Project, Planning and Zoning Permit number 17-500-11, Special Use Permit, located at 2420 North Oxnard Boulevard, APNs listed. The applicant requests a permit to allow for the renovation and conversion of an existing warehouse into a 3-story, 203,213 square feet of mini warehouse, self-storage space, storage warehouse, and retail space on 8.86 acre site. If there's no objection, I'll dispense with the rest of the description. The city staff is Mr. Joe Pearson II. Does staff want to provide a summary or additional analysis at this time?
Thank you, Chair Orejo. So just as a brief summary, this project was originally presented to the Planning Commission on November 17th, 2022. It was continued to the meeting of December 15th, 2022. However, it was also then continued from that meeting as the requested information was not yet ready.
So then it was heard on January 5th, 2023. At that meeting, the Planning Commission directed staff to return with resolutions recommending approval of the SUP as well as the MND, recommending approval of them to the City Council. So staff has returned with those recommendations of approval to City Council, and that is what has been prepared and presented in your packet. And that's the only additional information I had, but staff is available for questions, and Michael Roque, who's also the contract planner on this, is also available, as well as the applicant.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pearson. If there's no objection, we will have the applicant present at this time, if any. Does the applicant have a presentation?
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Mark Pettit. I'm with Lauterbach and Associates Architects. I'm here to answer any questions that you have, and if appropriate, be more than happy to come up and answer any other questions anybody else has. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, members may ask questions of the applicant and/or staff. Commissioner Nash.
Thank you, Chair. Could I have staff pull up a site plan? I just have a question about the siting of the pillars for the solar canopy. I don't know if you're able to do that on the fly here.
Unfortunately, Commissioner Nash, I don't believe we have that prepped right now. So I don't know if we'd be able to, I don't believe we'd be able to pull that up.
So when I was looking at it, I saw black dots, and I assume that's where the pillars are going. Maybe Mr. Pettit could answer that.
Yes, the canopy for the RV area, they are represented by the posts, and then of course the solar panels are on top of that as a carport type situation, slightly angled to the sun.
And they will actually be over the RV parking spaces?
Correct.
Okay, very good, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you while you're up there for bearing with us and
Sure.
trying to do what,
Great.
all of the crazy stuff we ask you to do.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Are there any other questions from the commission? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, is there any other public comment other than what you've given me right now?
No.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Ms. Pat Brown, you're first for public comment. You have 3 minutes when you're ready.
I think this is the best deal since peanut butter. That property has been sitting there for how many years, empty, when Lefferts moved out? It's a long time. You could have raised a child and have them in school by now. That it is a long time. That needs that. It's at the right location. It's at a better location than for many other locations that I've seen around here in Ventura County, West Ventura County. It's got its own, even a place for people to put their extra U-Haul type vehicles and trucks and pickups and all that kind of stuff. It's even got a space for that even. And I can't tell you how many hundreds of times that I have driven right by there on my way north to Staples and said to myself, what in the world is ever going to happen to this? Why don't they just tear it all down? What good is it just sitting there? I think this is the best thing that could happen there. And I've spent a good deal of my time as a young adult, married, moving around from one place to another every year or so. We'd find a new apartment building that looked even better than what we had, and so we'd get a U-Haul and do it ourselves. And we had all lightweight furniture, so it was all easy for us to take care of, all by ourselves. But, It got to the point where they were a member of the family almost, you know? Because every year we were planning on, and we didn't even think about who else would we use. It was always the same company. And all the rest of them, we just ignored. All the other companies that did the same thing, we just ignored. Especially after the first time, and we end up having to sweep and clean the bottom of the trailer out because it was still a mess. That never happened with this outfit. Everything is top notch, follow the rules, and that's it. Great place. Recommendation, I would say, for all the time since I've been here, since the fall of 1993, I would say from all this time, this is one of the best ideas that anybody has come up with for Planning Commission. One of the best that I've seen since then that's really worth what it's there for. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Madam Secretary, are there any other public comments? I don't see a hand raised.
Not for this item, no.
Okay, thank you, Madam Secretary. Does the applicant wish to respond to the public comment? Thank you. The chair closes, or I'll close this hearing to public comment. Are there any closing remarks from staff?
No, Chair Arroyo.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Now we will move on to deliberation. To the Planning Commission. Any deliberation? Commissioner Nash.
Seeing none, I'm ready to make a motion.
Please.
And that would be to adopt the accompanying resolution, to adopt the MND and the MMRP, and to adopt the resolution recommending the zoning permit number 17-500-11.
Thank you. It has been moved by Commissioner Nash to adopt resolution number 2023-XX, recommending that the City Council adopt a mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring reporting program, and adopt resolution 2023-XX, recommending that the City Council approve planning and zoning permit number 17-500-11 special use permit based on the findings presented and attached conditions of approval. Is there a second? Commissioner Dr. Lopez seconds. Is there any debate on the motion before us? Commissioner Nash? No. Is there any debate? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, can we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Nash?
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez?
Aye.
Commissioner Chavez?
No.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Seelsdorf?
Aye.
Chair Arroyo?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much, and congratulations. Moving on to item agenda F2, River Park Boulevard Electronic Billboard Project, Planning and Zoning Permit numbers 20-500-07, Special Use Permit 20-670-06, Development Agreement, and 20-630-02, Specific Plan Amendment, located on an approximately quarter-acre undeveloped site located between the US 101 and River Park Boulevard, approximately 850 feet north of Vineyard Avenue in the northern portion of the city of Oxnard. If there's no objection, I'm going to dispense with the rest of the description. City staff is Mr. Joe Pearson II. Does staff want to provide a summary or additional analysis at this time?
Yes, Chair Arroyo, just to again provide some background. So this project, along with two other projects, were presented to the commission at the January 19th Planning Commission meeting. At that meeting, again, the items that were on the agenda were an ordinance amendment to allow for electronic billboards. At that time, or at that meeting, the commission recommended approval of the ordinance and included a series of modifications to that ordinance. One of those modifications included increasing the residential setback to 250 feet from the 100 feet, which was originally proposed. As a result of that modification, the subsequent signs that were presented to the commission were not in conformance with that recommended change to the ordinance. Therefore, as a result, the recommendations on the subsequent signs, or the commission, in being consistent with that recommendation, had to recommend denial of the subsequent projects. So before the commission today are just those projects. So the River Park Boulevard electronic billboard, and then the subsequent item. The ordinance itself is no longer before the commission, has continued on to council. So there would not be an ability to change the ordinance language at this time. It would, and any recommendations or actions on the projects would need to be consistent with that prior commission action. So with that, we would also ask that Commissioner Zelzdorf and Commissioner Connolly, who were not present at the last meeting, confirm that they have viewed the last meeting, and then they would be eligible to vote on the items before us today. And with that, that's the only comments I have, and again, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Upon recommendation by Mr. Pearson, if Commissioner Zielsdorf and Commissioner Connolly can report if they did or did not view the materials, allowing them to be able to vote on the matter before us right now. We'll start with Commissioner Connolly.
Thank you, Chair. I was able to review the YouTube recording. Thank you so much for the lively conversation. And I was able to review all the documents as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Connolly. Commissioner Zielsdorf.
I have reviewed the YouTube as well, and thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Zielsdorf. I just wanted to make sure that's noted in the minutes that Commissioner Connolly and Commissioner Zielsdorf did review the materials, allowing them to be able to vote on the matter before us. Okay, if there's no objection, we're going to have the applicant present at this time, if there's any. Seeing none here in person or online, we are going to ask the Planning Commission if they have any questions of the applicant and or staff. Or I guess I did. Madam Secretary, can you confirm that's the applicant?
Sorry, yes,
Okay.
Chair Raheel.
Thank
That
you.
is Lars, the project applicant.
Okay.
There's not a presentation for today's meeting.
I'm sorry, they don't?
There's not a presentation, no.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to have any, say any comments for the commission, sir?
No, but I'm here for answering any questions anybody would have.
Okay, appreciate that, thank you. Now at this time, members may ask questions of the applicant and staff. Seeing none, Madam Secretary, are there any other public comments than the two that I have before me, one previously and one in person?
We did have somebody sign up online, which is Darren.
Okay.
Darren
Okay.
Veda. And we also have another raised hand here online.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We'll go first to those who registered before the meeting. Mr. Darren, B-A-I-D-A. If you could raise your hand to allow us to unmute you. And you have 3 minutes when you're able to.
Thank you. I'm going to assume I can be heard. This is Darren Bate. I spoke at the last meeting. In summary, if the U-Haul is the best idea you've ever heard, well, the electronic billboards are the worst. So please continue with disapproving them and stop them forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beta, for your comments. Then we'll go to Ms. Pat Brown. When you're able to, you have 3 minutes. Please begin.
As I read this notice here, proposed street vacation would vacate an existing right-of-way to the city of Oxnard. that area, the traffic in there is such a mess as it is right now. And you're moving over and moving over. Getting on the freeway, you have to keep moving over another road of another rail of thing of moving over because they keep dropping off, and they have to keep adding on more for to use the street that they shouldn't be using. Instead of doing that, they should be adding on to the freeway itself on these streets. To me, that is just ridiculous. Plus, I'm getting really tired of billboards. Now, I remember back a number of years, it must have been about 15 years or so, I remember we were talking about billboards. There were billboards all over the place. There were ones that all we did was paint them up white, and then they all get graffitied all over, and we're still having that problem. And then we started putting up the lighted ones along the freeway there, going northbound on the freeway. And if you don't know where you're going and you've never know where you want to go, but you've never been there before, you could get really messed up. The directions and everything are harder to find than they normally would be, and the freeway lanes, there's not nearly enough lanes there to take all that traffic, and I see other cars. Well, they get in the wrong lane, then they have to switch over and go right back again because they got confused as to which lane they should be in exiting and whatnot. With the billboard signs up there too, on top of it all. It's just too confusing. And I realize we're doing this because we want to look good like the major cities do. Okay? Well, I wouldn't say it was all that great for the major cities in the first place. The people that we're trying to emulate are not any good in the first place. Nobody ever said that all those big billboard signs in Los Angeles that stretch up the side of buildings that are all lit up and whatnot, nobody ever said that was a good idea, or at least not around me, because I would have said, you're just attracting the people's eyes off the traffic and onto something else.
Thank you, Ms.
Which shouldn't be there. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, you said there's a raised hand. Is there still a raised hand?
There isn't.
Okay. Thank you very much. With no further public comment, does the applicant wish to respond to any of the public comments?
I have no extra comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll now close this hearing to public comment. Are there any closing remarks from staff?
Chair Rejo, we just wanted to clarify that it sounds like the public speaker is referencing the Ventura Road project, as there's not a vacation for being proposed under the River Park one. So just, again, wanted to clarify that for the record.
Acknowledge. Out of an abundance of caution, I'm going to ask Ms. Pratt-Brown to say her comments again before the next agenda item. So thank you for that clarification. Any other further remarks?
No, Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Now we'll move on to deliberation. Commission. Commissioner Connolly.
I have a couple comments that basically mirror what Ms. Brown said. And thank you all for your, like I said, very lively conversation at the last meeting that I was unable to attend. I agreed with everything you said about revenue and distraction. And I strongly feel that billboards may be somewhat of an outdated source of advertising. And though the medium is very tech forward, being digital and LED lit, I'm not sure if it's the way to inundate people to buy things, especially when they're driving. I know that I look at my screen in my car and to find directions and stuff like that, and that's somewhat of a distraction in itself, and I'm not sure that as a consumer, I would purchase or be interested in anything that I see flashing at me, especially on a major thoroughway like the 101. So thank you all, like I said, for your comments, and those were the only things that I had to say in rewatching your last meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Connolly. Any other deliberation? I will say a few words in that I think in this particular one, especially in regards to all of it as a whole, although we're just specifically looking at this, that it really didn't seem right for the property, just given the light pollution, the fact that it doesn't appear that enough input from the neighboring, from who would be most affected from it, it didn't seem that the concerns or there's enough mitigations to allay those concerns definitely far out into the future. And so I believe that at least from the last meeting that the commission deliberated conscientiously into a decision. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, in other comments that it was unanimous in denying this. And so I urge Planning Commission to go forth with that same decision. Thank you. Any further deliberation? Is there any motion? Commissioner Nash.
Thank you, Chair. On this item, I move that we follow the recommendation to adopt resolution recommending that the City Council deny the MND 22-02 and adopt resolution recommending that the City Council deny planning and zoning permit number 20-607-06, and also that we adopt the resolution recommending the City Council deny planning and zoning permit number 20-630-02, and that we find the planning and zoning permit number 20-500-07 special use permit to be exempt from environmental review pursuant to CEQA. Adopt resolution 2023-XX to deny the planning and zoning permit number 20-500-07, subject to the findings and conditions within the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. It has been moved by Commissioner Nash to adopt Resolution 2023-XX, recommending that the City Council deny MND 22-02, and adopt Resolution 2023-XX, recommending that the City Council deny planning and zoning permit number 20-670-06, subject to certain findings, adopt Resolution 2023-XX, recommending City Council deny planning and zoning permit number 20-630-02, amendment to the River Park specific plan, subject to certain findings, and finds planning and zoning permit number 20-500-07, special use permit to be statutorily exempt from environmental review pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15-270, projects which are disapproved, and adopt resolution 2023-XX denying planning and zoning permit number 20-500-07, special use permit subject to certain findings and conditions. Is there a second? Commissioner Dr. Lopez seconds. Is there any debate on this motion before us? Seeing and hearing none, Madam Secretary, can we please have the roll call?
Commissioner Nash?
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez?
Aye.
Commissioner Chavez?
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Seelsdorf?
Aye.
And Chair Arejo?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item F3, Ventura Road Electronic Billboard Project, Planning and Zoning permit numbers 20-500-06, 20 special use permit 20-670-05, development agreement, and 21-660-03, street vacation, a special use permit, development agreement, and street vacation to allow for the installation and operation of an electronic billboard on an approximately 1,000 square foot undeveloped site located on the north side of the US 101 and immediately west of Ventura Road in the northern portion of the city of Oxnard. If there's no objection, I'll dispense with the rest of the description. City staff, Mr. Joe Pearson II. Does staff want to provide a summary or additional analysis at this time?
Yes, Chair Rejo, similar to the last item, this was heard at the January 19th Planning Commission meeting. At that meeting, the commission recommended that staff return with resolutions of denial for the project, as the changes to the ordinance would not allow for this site to move forward as currently proposed. So staff has returned with those resolutions recommending denial. However, the commission didn't make a note in the prior in their comments that they would be in support of this project if the council did not adopt the changes to the ordinance as recommended by the commission. So reducing the setback from the 250 feet, which was proposed by the planning commission, back to the 100 feet that was originally proposed by staff. And with that, I am available if there are any questions, as well as the project applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. If there's no objection, we will have the applicant present or make any comments at this time, if there's any. Mr. Skogstad.
Yeah, thank you. No comments, but here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. I'd like to apologize to the Planning Commission. There was an agenda item, and I assume Ms. Pat Brown's comments were for the previous item. I see that the title is for the Ventura Road Electronic Billboard Project. Out of an abundance of caution, I'm allowing her to repeat or say any additional comments that she'd like in the 3 minutes allocated to her at this time. Ms. Pat Brown?
I don't have anything to say about this.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll just ask Planning Commission to refer to your previous comments in regards to that. Madam Secretary, is there any other public comment?
We do have a hand raised.
Thank you. If you could unmute. To the person who has their hand raised, you're unmuted. You please state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes to begin or to go.
Thank you, Chair. This is Darren Beta once again. From the last Planning Commission, I was disappointed at the note that was added to the recommendation to deny the project. A horrendous distracting billboard is a horrendous distracting billboard wherever you place it in Oxnard. And I'd urge the commission to remove that stipulation, passing on to the city council, and outright deny this in the strictest sense allowed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Beta, for your comments. Seeing no other public comment, does the applicant wish to respond to the public comments made thus far?
No comments, thanks.
Thank you very much. I will now close the hearing to public comment. Are there any closing remarks from staff?
Not at this time, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pearson. Now we'll move on to deliberation. Commission. Commissioner Nash.
Thank you. All of my previous comments still stand. I do want to raise a couple of additional points. I think that the reason that these came before us was at the time of when the city council debated this issue, the city was in financial distress. We are not in that same moment, thankfully. So I don't think the city council would entertain approval of either the zoning changes or the ordinance changes. I did read an article in the LA Times talking about LA Metro putting up any number of digital signs. And they were, subject to the same public concerns that we've had with these. But one thing conditioned was I believe it's called the drawdown, where for every foot of digital sign that got approved, they would take down 2 square feet of existing billboard signs. So I hope that staff would incorporate that into any future ordinance, because I think the goal of me, and I would hope the planning commission, is to strive for the elimination of all billboards. They're simply visual pollution. I mean, there's no two ways around it. It seems like advertising has moved to the digital platform, and that's the way it should be. So I don't think drivers pay that much attention to billboards. I might be wrong. I certainly don't. And especially this Ventura Road sign, I would have staff pull up a rendering, but I guess they can't do it. But if you can see that rendering, that would be the first thing the first thing people would see, the first impression they would have of the city coming southbound on the 101, and the last thing they would see leaving the city. And this location offers the most panoramic views in all of Oxnard. It's just, it's spectacular. If you were there this last Tuesday, I believe, and saw the snow-covered mountains and the white clouds, I mean, it was just simply and the green hills, simply spectacular. So for us to solely this area, this view shed with a digital sign, it's just incomprehensible to me. So I had 5 pages of comments and concerns and, conditions and policies from the general plan that I thought would, support my position on this. And I won't go over those, but I hope the Planning Commission supports the recommended action of denying this. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. I saw Commissioner Connolly. Okay. I apologize, Commissioner Connolly. Any other deliberation at this time? I'll say a few words. I realize that before us is a denial. However, I believe that at our last meeting, the commissioners got it right that if the ordinance was somehow changed to make this allowable and valid for this use, that it would be an appropriate and, at least in my opinion, a reasonable place to have the billboard. I believe that there is, at least in comparison, although we're not supposed to, there's definitely enough mitigation because there are at least less instances in regards to the negative effects, in my opinion. And I believe that although this is a denial, there is that clause that allows that in case ordinance will free it up to be valid and legal within our city limits. Without any other deliberation, and if not, I will be looking for a motion.
Chair, I do have one comment for staff, or one question, and that concerns the development agreement that we're asked to look at and approve or disapprove. My concern is that not being a lawyer myself, I don't see how I can look at these agreements and come to any intelligent decision, because at the end of the day, they're a legal document, and I don't have a legal mind. So I don't know if Mr. Rizal can address my concern about that.
Yes, state law does require that planning commission consider development agreements before they go to city council. So this is something that state law mandates that the planning commission consider. I acknowledge it's a long and a dense agreement, which, as I mentioned the last time, I did draft with input, of course, from the attorney for the the billboard company, and with staff's input as well. But it is appropriate, if the planning commission was going to recommend approval of this, that you ask any question that you might have regarding the terms and conditions, because clearly the planning commission should understand what they're recommending. If they're going to recommend something to city council, what that document says. So I'm here to answer those questions. And when the packet comes out, if we have another development agreement, I'm happy to discuss with any one of you regarding what the terms mean. And, this is not meant to confuse or to sneak something by. It's a document that is there in the public record, and, we're happy to talk about any provision that you'd like.
Thank you for that. And, I do understand, but it's like, well, it's asking too much to go through that DA line by line, which is almost something that I would need to do to say, well, okay, I have an understanding of this, and I'll go ahead and approve it. And there's no response to that really. It's just a concern of mine, that individually. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Any other from the commission? And at this time, the chair is looking for a motion. I will move the recommended action to adopt Resolution 2023-XX, recommending that the City Council deny mitigated negative declaration 22-03, and adopt Resolution 2023-XX, recommending that the City Council deny planning and zoning permit number 20-670-05, subject to certain findings, and adopt Resolution 2023-XX, recommending City Council deny planning and zoning permit number 21-660-03, street vacation subject to certain findings, and finds planning and zoning permit number 20-500-06, special use permit to be statutorily exempt from environmental review pursuant to California Environmental Quality Act Guidelines Section 15270, projects which are disapproved, and adopt Resolution 2023-XX denying planning and zoning permit number 20-500-06, special use permit subject to certain findings and conditions.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nash. Is there any debate on the motion before us? Seeing and hearing none, Madam Secretary, can we please have the roll call?
Chair Arrejo,
Aye.
Commissioner Nash,
Aye.
Commissioner Chavez,
Aye.
Commissioner Conley,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez,
Aye.
Commissioner Seelsdorf.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item F4, 940 Dunes Duplex, planning and zoning permit number 22-400-01, coastal development permit to authorize the construction of a residential duplex totaling 5591 square feet located at 940 Dunes. A request to construct a two-story, 5,591 square foot residential duplex building consisting of two attached two-bedroom dwelling units on a 6366 square foot vacant lot. Unit 1, which is 2910 square feet, includes an 881 square foot garage and 257 square feet of balcony area. Unit 2 is 2681 square feet and includes an 890 square foot garage and a 108 square foot balcony. City staff, Mr. Joe Pearson II. Does staff want to provide summary or additional analysis at this time?
Chair Rejo, so no additional comments from myself, but I do want to introduce Susan Hernandez, who is the contract planner on this project. She's working on behalf of the city and is currently working with Rincon. So Rincon is doing contract work for the city. So just wanted to introduce Susan, and the applicant, Alex Muller, is also on the line. And so both of them are available if you have any questions, and there's no presentation proposed for this item.
Okay. Thank you. If I don't, with the others on Zoom, as Mr. Pearson asked, presented, if you'd like to make any comments at this time on the project, or just say hello.
I can just give a quick summary. So this is a coastal development permit for the construction of a duplex. It's compliant with the general plan, the dunes resolution for the design guidelines, and the R2C coastal zone. We had a community workshop. We did not receive comments, and we have not received comments since.
Thank you very much. Given the comments that there was no presentation by the applicant, at this time, the commission may ask questions of staff. Seeing and hearing none, Madam Secretary, is there any public comment?
No.
Thank you very much. Since the applicant isn't here, the chair will close the hearing to public comment. Are there any closing remarks from staff?
No additional comments, Chair.
Thank you very much.
So I did just want to note that the applicant is here. He's on the virtual call.
I will backtrack. If the applicant, if you'd like to, well, there wasn't any public comment, but if you would want to make any last comments, you may do so at this time. Hearing none, and with closing remarks already said, we will now move on to deliberation. Commission. With no deliberation, I'm looking for a motion. Commissioner Dr. Lopez.
I'd like to move the staff recommendation.
Thank you. It has been moved by Commissioner Dr. Lopez to find the project to be categorically exempt from environmental review pursuant to CEQA Guidelines Section 15303, new construction or conversion of small structures, and adopt Resolution 2023-XX approving planning and zoning permit number 22-400-01, coastal development permit subject to certain findings and conditions. Is there any debate on the motion before us? Seeing and hearing none, Madam Secretary, can we please have the roll call? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Point of order on there. Is there a second on the motion by Commissioner Dr. Lopez? Second. Commissioner Conley seconds. Thank you. I apologize for that snafu. If there's any debate on the motion, Commissioner Nash, your speaker's on. Apology. Okay, thank you very much. Madam Secretary, can we please have the roll call now at this time? Thank you.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez?
Aye.
Commissioner Conley?
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez?
Aye.
Commissioner Nash?
Aye.
Commissioner Sealsor?
Aye.
Chair Arrejo?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. With no study session reports, we can move on to Planning Commission business. Is there any business or report from the Planning Commission?
Sure.
Yeah. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to make a quick announcement that this Saturday, Metrolink will be offering free rides on all of its lines in cooperation with other transit leaders for Equity Day is what it's calling it for. This is also the beginning of Black History Month, so we celebrate that as well, and those will be my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Any other comments? I'll make a couple at this time. If you could just forgive the length of this, it'll be less than 5 minutes, I promise. I wanted again to thank the Planning Commission for your confidence in electing me chair. Honestly, I never thought I would be in this position. Maybe thought of it a couple of years ago while I was in vice chair, but definitely not before that, just being in a public speaking role. So I appreciate that. I just wanted to give a few words on my perspective on chairing so that you at least know where I'm coming from, even though you might disagree. So in another world, there might not be a need for Robert's rules because everyone would get to the same decision to which everyone would agree every time because assumedly everyone would think the same and be the same. However, we all have a different perspective, bringing different knowledge and both personal and professional, and our outlook on the Planning Commission. I hope that we do as much as suitably possible in our questions, comments, and deliberations. As you know, one of my other personal pursuits is trying to be more of an expert in Robert's rules because I believe it's a way to ensure equitability and fairness as we process each agenda item. To use an analogy, I'd relate Robert's rules to a pickaxe for a mountaineer who uses it to scale the mountain. Use it too roughly and it and you get stuck in one place. Use it too lightly and you're meandering in the same place, not doing enough to push yourself off that point, but use it just enough and it will be effective in leveraging yourself to get to that ultimate goal, for the mountaineer to get to the top and for us to get to the end of the meeting. And Robert's Rules has so many different types of tools, and so I would recommend, as you've seen me use, to the chagrin maybe of former Chair Chavez, these tools to help you in the best interest of what you want to bring to the commission and in the best interest of the city as a whole. If you have a question, raise a point of information. If you think the process or the action is incorrect, as just what happened to me 5 minutes ago, raise a point of order. If you need assistance with how to craft a motion or on a procedural process, inquire with a parliamentary inquiry, and the chair is obligated to give an opinion on how best to achieve that goal. And if you think we've discussed a motion or an item too much, call the question or move the previous question. And lastly, if you hear the chair saying, if there's no objection and you disagree, there is a pause, or there should be a pause for me to allow you to object. Going through, if there is no objection, which I will say from time, it's because the chair or I feel it's non-controversial and minor enough that everyone is assumed to agree to speed up the process, but it's every member's right to request a motion by objecting to the chair's assumption of unanimity. So I encourage you all to use those tools if appropriate to ensure we come to the best decision for Oxnard. Now that that's over, I'd just like to announce a couple other things. The Institute for Local Government is holding a free one-day training for the Santa Barbara, Ventura, and San Luis Obispo counties. It's going to be on February 17. I was able to attend a Northern California meeting. I use it as an excuse to see some friends in Northern California. So started off a long weekend with a full day of meeting and hung out with my friends there. So I encourage you to look at that. And District 6 is having a candidates forum on Thursday, February 9 at 7 p.m. at the South Oxnard Center. Please consider attending in person and informing your neighbors, and you may see someone moderating that forum who is speaking right now. Thank you very much. If there's no other business to report from the Planning Commission, I will go to an update on the community development staff. Mr. Pearson.
Yep. Thank you, Chair Rejo and Commissioners. Staff does not have any updates at this time. The next meeting is February 16th, and we currently have one item on the agenda for that meeting.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rosell?
No updates at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, with the end, since there's no further business, the meeting will be adjourned if there's no objection. Seeing and hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all and good night.